This list probably wouldn't be complete without at least paying a mention to funneling. Of course, this is not to say that funneling was never meta, because back in Season 8 at one point it was the most dominant strategy in competitive play, with Master Yi Taric and Nunu and Karthus starting the original idea, with things like Kai'Sa funneling and Xayah Recon funneling really shaping the meta. Now, funneling has been around for a while, and was not invented by Taric and Master Yi players. For example, Rat IRL, a popular Twitch jungle streamer, has been doing the support follow you around, buff you up, while you take all the jungle camps and a lane of farm strategy for a pretty long time, because it's a great way to elo boost. However, this strategy does not tend to be very popular anymore, as it was nerfed several times due to its dominance in competitive play. The thing is, Taric is still technically the highest win rate mid laner in the game, albeit a very low sample size. The players who still do Master Yi Taric funneling can find great success. As far as bot lane, this is a type of bot lane that can really only be described as the perma-CC lane. There are plenty of good duo Q strategies that you can play with your laning partner. Double Arcane Comet Poke with Ashe and Zyra, double Dark Harvest Mage with Karthus and Brand. But one of the better off-meta bot lanes of all time has to be the double Bruiser bot lane, my all-time favorite being Renekton and Leona. There was a time a while ago that it was pretty meta to run a Renekton Leona bot lane, and I'mACutiePie would end up getting smashed by it a few times on his stream. Obviously, the big strength of the combo is for Renekton or Leona to start the engage, typically with a Leona R or a Leona E, and then Renekton can easily follow up and kill them. It's pretty hard to gank the lane as well, and after level 6, they may be able to 3v2 since both of them are very tanky, since Leona can take Aftershock and Renekton gets health from his ultimate. If you combo that with the fact that Leona has good sustain through Relic Shield and Renekton has built-in sustain in his kit, it makes him a solid bruiser for the bottom lane. A decent modern day equivalent take on this is to try out the you are never moving ever bot lane with Pyke and Nautilus. Both of these champions are really good right now, and both do decent damage even though they're supposed to be engaging supports. These types of bot lanes have been around for a while, and they almost have always been at least a little bit viable. Whenever playing versus a very weak bot lane like Jinx and Yuumi, you can really punish them with this type of lane. For LeBlanc, the AD LeBlanc build has been around for a while, and it's one of the only off-meta builds that, on paper, really makes no sense. What I mean is that things like AP Kog'Maw, AD Lethality Scion, AP Nasus Maxing E, these things work because the champion has abilities that actually scale with the build. Even if it's not optimal, the literal reason that it can work is because it has some ability to scale with the items that you're building. For LeBlanc though, she has 0 AD scalings. She has no kind of max health or percentage health scaling, no scaling of any type except for raw AP. Seemingly, she could only ever build AP then, right? Well, no, not really, because AD LeBlanc works almost entirely because of the way her kit plays out in-game. Although she provides no damage whatsoever except for auto attacks, this can be enough to carry. LeBlanc's distortion is extremely powerful as a tool that an ADC might want. Think about if Ezreal could arcane shift forward, then always go back. The fact that you have a free flash, escape, clone, and a stealth mechanic for more survivability, and a chain to peel yourself and stick on people when you're stronger than them, helps you kite around people and make them look silly. The build was quite popular a couple of seasons ago, as Voyboy was known for spamming it, and there were genuinely challenger players trying out AD LeBlanc top lane and finding pretty good success. The build will typically go for full crit, and then combo that with Trinity Force for proccing Sheen when you W forward and auto attack somebody. You are a fantastic split pusher and a side laner due to your safety at taking towers and splitting, since you can always get away and proc Sheen on towers. The build still does work to this day so long as you build Essence Reaver, Static Shiv, and Infinity Edge first 3 items, and use Press the Attack as your keystone. Beforehand, people were taking Fleet Footwork a lot, but that rune has been nerfed so much on ranged champions that you're almost always better off just taking PTA. Of all of the things on the list today, This is easily my favorite, and it even comes with a pretty good story. The year is 2015. The European LCS is gaining more and more popularity, as it has some very exciting talent and teams. Fnatic is the best team in the region, with a bright young star duo with Huni and Reignover. They also have a brand new mid laner with Febiven, the boy who killed Faker.
Into the jungle, not as fruitful.
And there's the Deathmark coming in.
And will it be enough? The pop and the ignites! Febiven,
But that one
V1's Faker. Aggressive pick-making team. Faker eats 2 shurikens. The knockup is interrupted as Febiven materializes. Ignite, plus one more. That is 2 1v1s in a game.
Fnatic is seemingly an unstoppable team. However, there were some new kids on the block. The Unicorns of Love are a new organization, with members that at the time were completely unknown. This was when Power of Evil was first onto the scene, and before Hylissang was one of the best supports in the world. These guys had a ragtag team of young talent and were totally ready to take on Europe. Throughout their run, they whipped out some interesting picks that would shock the world, such as Twisted Fate Jungle against TSM, a game in which they won and would eventually win the series. This would also put Power of Evil on the map as he destroyed Bjergsen.
Red. Now he's going mid. He's got the gold card.
Oh, can they get Bjergsen here? The chains are going to come down. He's dead. First blood going to Kikis with the jungle Twisted Fate.
Yes. Confidence that Pantheon was not here to counter gank, and you can see he goes double W's for his distortion there. Just
Against a first pick Pantheon. Oh man, I'll say after Power of Evil kills Bjergsen again.
Yeah, one more auto attack. Oh, the Q will finish him off. And Power of Evil, that was the question that Shox asked earlier on. The game, meanwhile, Bjergsen taking a lot of damage. Will Power of Evil get the cooldowns back? Yes, he will. Finishes off. Twisted Fate actually uses ultimate there as well and has gone top lane to pick up a kill onto Dyrus.
They also played Shaco, they played Udyr, the pre-rework Poppy, and Power of Evil literally invented mid-lane lethality Varus, something that would become meta for years to come after he played it. And during the spring split, these two teams, Fnatic, the European powerhouse of an organization, and the Unicorns, the big question mark coming into the split, would go head to head in what would end up being, in my opinion, the most exciting match in competitive play history.
5-second cooldown at rank 5.
Oh my
which
word,
obviously
what
is
is
a lot
happening?
of this is crazy. I mean, this patch, man. Now we're running an old school Yorick Cassiopeia composition where you have this suicide mid laner who just goes bazookas on the enemy team, and then you resurrect her once she dies. I mean, this is a Yorick top lane now from Vizicsacsi.
To understand the pick, we have to understand how the old Yorick worked. Before his rework, Yorick was not a very good champion, being the main reason that he was even changed. He had a really toxic kit that had basically zero presence in any play, competitive or solo queue. That being said, there was a strategy that worked way back in the day, as an old school team composition, Yorick and Cassiopeia. The old Yorick ult was called Omen of Death, allowing Yorick to reanimate a teammate or himself, and even if they died, they still had 10 seconds to pop off. If you coupled this with a hypercarry, which back in the day Cassiopeia was thought to be one of the best hypercarries in the game, you would end up having an unstoppable beast of a teamfight. This game would go down to the wire, with several extremely close calls. Eventually, Power of Evil did it all on Cassiopeia, and one of the most miraculous finishes ever, PoE and Vizicsacsi would take down Fnatic with their Yorick and Cassio 2v8 combo.
On the minimap, they got the Baron still trying to push in. It's just a lonely Nunu trying to defend. Is it enough? Can Kiki scare them away?
Fnatic, they're waiting. They've got minions. I don't know if it's enough. 15 seconds before Chachi is up. Vardak's getting closer. Kikis is trying to pull attention, but it's not enough. The Nexus turret is down. Hylissang's in place. He needs to have a magic stun, but he's not going to because he's in trouble. Febiven continues to focus the turret. Hylissang is down. The Nexus turret is down. They're onto the Nexus. Fnatic look like they're stunned at 33 minutes. Fnatic are taking down the Unicorns of Love.
No!
A few more hits.
What?
What? I cannot understand this game. Unicorns of Love.
It wasn't
defend their Nexus.
Anymore though to backdoor that one, but they're going in again.
Oh, that's a petrifying gaze. They've caught two. Power of Evil is down.
That was down though.
And Chachi are trying to get away. We do see the Omen of Death. What can Power of Evil do from beyond the grave? He's caught Steel back, but that is the most number of kills we've seen in the spring split. 14 minutes quicker than before. Yellowstar,
the back door.
I've seen this before. It happened at Worlds, and it didn't go in Fnatic's favor. Will their fate be different? Nexus is going down. Hooney's TP. Oh, it's what Fnatic are cheering. We see Rainover's down. Hooney is down. It's happened again. Deficio, it's happened again. Fnatic are not able to defend the Nexus. They've got supers barreling down the mid lane. What can the super minions do?
Can that super minion? Okay.
The siege, they are unrelenting. There is one Nexus turret standing, and the Unicorns say, we will have it. Oh, it's Fnatic caught out. Featherfit's in trouble. We see that Kikis is dropped as he was channeling his absolute zero. Dredgeline knocks up multiple people, but Chachi forced to use that Omen of Death on himself.
They got one.
Double kill for Steelback. What can Featherfit and Steelback do? Vardax and Power of Evil alive. We do see the Dredgeline connects with Hillisang. Look at the carries. They're both rooted in place. Hourglass keeps Hooney alive as we see Yellowstar taken out. This is a 2-3 versus 3 in the base. Featherfit is down. It is all
Steelback and Hooney now.
And Hooney. The Nexus is standing. Steelback has got Hillisang. He's critting massively onto Vardax. But Vardax and Power of Evil, they are pushing with the minions. Hooney on full HP. Deficio, will they go in? Glacial Path. We do see the shard connect, but look at the auto attacks. Power of Evil's got him. Can Power of Evil turn around? From Steelback. He can't find Vardax. Steelback is looking for Power of Evil. Unicorns have done it. Unicorns have beaten Fnatic.
Now, this one is extremely personal to me, as I've played a lot of Recon mid back in the day. Recon mid is a seriously good pick, but it used to be even better. I have another little story for you. So there was this time when I was smurfing through Platinum, and I ran into this guy who locked in Recon mid on the enemy team. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this guy's gotta be a troll, this is another free win for me. But he then proceeded to completely pop off. This guy was the Recon mid smurf, and I thought to myself, how does he do it? I ended up checking his op.gg, and he was like 90% win rate Recon mid. He took Storm Raider's Surge every game, and rushed Protobelt into Death Cap. This was definitely super cool, so I had to look into it, and Recon has some of the best AP ratios in the game. For his passive, AP Recon has a huge shield. With his W, he has good wave clear and damage, as well as hard CC. On his E, he ends up having a huge shield to help himself and allies, he has great damage on his Q, and the healing AP ratio is no joke either, which allows him to sustain himself and his teammates. The crazy thing is, it used to be even better. There was a time where Perkz was playing a lot of Recon mid, and inspired many people to try it out. At one point myself, I remember having almost an 85% win rate in Diamond 2 as Recon mid, so it definitely could work if you knew what you were doing. There was a patch that Recon received AP ratio buffs on several abilities, and he was seriously the best kept secret in mid lane, and it's still surprising to me to this day that he was never truly utilized at the highest level. It's been nerfed several times since those days, and because of his relevance in pro play, he's not nearly as OP as he used to be, most notably with his RW combo having that delay. It still works in modern day League of Legends, it's just a shadow of its former self. For a while, Sejuani has been a very good jungler and dominant at all levels of play. Because of her jungle prowess, a lot of people have tried to play her in solo lanes. We've seen a good bit of her in the top lane, and we've even seen Faker play her mid lane as a tank. However, none of this was quite as fun as full AP Sejuani mid. Before Sejuani received one of the major tank updates, Sej mid was pretty nuts. Her AP ratios were solid, and because of her ultimate being able to hit more than one enemy back then, you could get nasty 5-man AP ultimates. It was pretty similar to a full AP Malphite playstyle, where it definitely does work and has a game-changing ultimate, but if you don't get off the ground, you'd obviously just be better off building tank. Right now, the build still could work, and you can go things like Protobelt, but I truthfully do think that full tank Sej in a solo lane is obviously much better than full AP. You can take Aftershock or Grasp of the Undying and have great trading power, and it's also pretty fun to play. This is one of the more widely known items on the list today, as I would assume that most people who have played League for a while know about AD Thresh. The entire reason that it works has everything to do with the passive on your E, Flay. The passive on this ability is the part where if you don't auto attack for a while, it kind of builds up some damage, and after a couple of seconds, you build up maximum damage and have this really bursty auto attack. As a normal Thresh support, this is pretty nice, as it does let you secure a bit more kills and helps you out in damaging in some trades. For AD and crit Thresh though, this is totally nuts. The AD ratio on this ability is one of the highest ratios in the entire game. Actually, it might even be the highest. At level 9, it scales with 200% of your total AD, not bonus, total. I really don't think there are any better scalings than that, but feel free to let me know if there's anything that I'm not considering, such as Rek'Sai Ultimate or Talon, because I know those two champions also have really high AD scalings. Anyway, the damage also scales with your souls that you collect, so later on into the game, the more souls you get, the stronger this one auto attack will be. On top of that, even though it scales with AD through the roof, it actually does bonus magic damage, making it really hard to build against you. You crit like crazy and your auto alone does 500 or more physical damage because of the items that you build, but then you also have a crazy amount of magic damage coming out from this and your static shiv or rapid fire proc. I'm not exactly sure what rune page I like the most with this. I think lethal tempo is good, and I also think that press the attack is pretty solid, but dark harvest to execute people could also be extremely powerful. Either way, this is one of those builds that still works these days and is just as fun as ever. I also think it's one of those things that seems even better than it really is, simply because people don't expect the damage. Players are way less likely to flash away from you or respect you and get out of range of your auto attacks. This is because they literally don't treat you like an ADC or know that you do that much damage, since you don't really see this build very often. Of course, if you see a Caitlyn and she places her traps, you'll walk away. You don't want anything to do with that. However, this silly Thresh walks up, what's he gonna do? Bam, you get bopped. This build has to be the shortest lasting build on our list today in terms of the time frame of its effectiveness. This really only existed for, like, one day even, with it only really being good on the PBE, and it was kind of okay once Irelia was released, but it was never really the same. AP Irelia, because of her rework, was nasty, and she had insane ratios on her release on the PBE. You can max your W or your E for wave clear and poke, and your all-in was insanely strong because of the burst. Actually, tons of YouTubers made videos about AP Irelia with the rework and tried it out, and they were all pretty surprised at how well it worked. Riot would end up changing this, and people realized right away that she had insanely high ratios, kind of abnormally high. If this had ever hit the live servers in that same state and people were able to optimize the build over a number of weeks, this probably would have been the best Irelia build with the rework. This definitely isn't good anymore, but from what I understand, I believe this build is still quite good in URF, and I've heard that URF is coming back pretty soon, so you might be able to whip out the AP Irelia once again. Speaking of AD champions building AP Rengar was one of the most terrifying and electric things to ever shock the League of Legends scene. He was a monster of an assassin after he got a little bit of a mini rework where you could max your W and if you snowballed hard enough, become an AP one-shotting machine. That was AoE. This is arguably the best AoE assassin in history, as it didn't have the single highest burst on a single target, but you could blow up groups of enemies that were around 60 or 70% health from stealth, which is extremely unfair. The build was good, it definitely worked, but it was never really more than a gimmick because it obviously would have some clear weaknesses if it were ever to be tried out in a competitive game. It had a much worse clear than AD Rengar because you're building AP and maxing W, and AP items cost a lot, so you really needed to snowball. But hey, AP kitties were still rampant for some time. This has to be the funniest build on the list today. AP Alistar top lane. Now, it's no secret that the cow has some good AP ratios on him, and if you consider that he does have CC, similar to Recon, you can kind of make it work as more of a supportive AP champion, similar to Recon and Morgana mid lane. The problem is that you have much worse wave clear. Your trading pattern is a bit weird because if you ever get caught with your headbutt, someone can run you down, and you're very vulnerable to getting ganked. Despite this, back in 2016, there was one player who changed everything. In a video that would make the front page of Reddit and have hundreds of thousands of eyes see it, Doublelift would be obliterated by an AP Alistar top lane player. Doublelift would play 4 games that day with him, 1 with him on his team, which they won, and 3 against him, which he lost all 3 times. Apparently, this was actually Adrian Riven, the challenger Riven main, playing AP Alistar top lane. Doublelift's stream with tens of thousands of viewers would watch the terror that was AP Alistar top lane, inspiring a lot of players in the community to try it out. Back then, this build worked even better than it does now. This was during the days of League of Thunderlords, when it was really the only keystone that anyone would ever take. Also, his first item was actually Frost Queen's Claim, which was the support item. This had the active that Twin Shadows does today, allowing you to pop the spooky ghosts, and then when they are slowed, you can catch up to them and combo them. I tried it out recently, and these days, it's obviously not as good. The problem is that Electrocute is really what you have to take, but you don't really want it. And then if anyone ever has Bone Plating or Nullifying Orb, you can never kill anyone. I think it can still work and it's just as fun as it was back then, but this guy had a great setup that could let him smash games even in Challenger. Finally, we reached the last thing on our list, and it's a very, very special topic. One of the main draws to League of Legends when you're brand new to the game is the idea that you have infinite and unlimited choice in your decisions, and whatever choices you want to make seem like you can always make it work. When you start playing League of Legends in those pre-level 30 games, unless you have a very experienced player yelling in your ear every game on exactly what to build, exactly what to do, and exactly how to play to the meta, you don't really know any better. Who's to say that Garen Jungle doesn't work? Who's to say that full lifesteal Lux doesn't work? You certainly haven't seen it yet in your games, and if you haven't seen it, that just means other people haven't figured it out. And for us all, one of the greatest and most innovative strategies that has achieved meme level status is River Shen. River Shen is not a rune page, or a build, or an idea. It's a role, it's a playstyle, it's a philosophy and an approach to the game. River Shen is when you literally are not jungle, you are river. You wait in the river, clear wards, place your own wards, and gank lanes non-stop until it works. You don't bother laning, clearing the jungle. No, you just walk into the lane and kill them. You're like a permanently roaming support. You're not a jungler. You are River. River Shen. That, ladies and gentlemen, is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed this one, make sure to leave a like and click subscribe down below, and I'll see you all next time.